This is the only place in America where you can let your kids climb on gas pipelines and not be visited by Child Protective Services. That's because these pipelines, once critical pieces of Seattle's early energy infrastructure, now make up one of America's strangest urban parks. So let's talk about it. But first, if you're new here, this is Fourth Place, your place to learn about U.S. geography, urbanism, transportation, and city planning. So this is Gasworks Park in Seattle. It's located on the north shore of Lake Union and offers some pretty incredible views of the city. For the most part, it's just like any other park. It's got grassy meadows for dogs to run around in, it's got bike paths and picnic tables, and like any good park, it's got toxic black tar that oozes up from the ground from time to time. And it's also a great place to fly a kite. Okay, maybe that other part needs a bit more explanation. What makes this park particularly unique is that it houses America's last remaining piece of Industrial Revolution gas plant architecture. Before Seattle had access to natural gas, they had to manufacture synthetic gas made from raw coal and oil byproducts. By heating those up, then purifying and pressurizing the hydrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide that was produced, the gas plant was able to pipe energy to thousands of homes, businesses, and street lamps across Victorian-era Seattle. The 6 towers at the center of the park are what's left of the gas generators, and running at full capacity, they produce several million cubic feet of gas per day, which was enough energy to power upwards of 50,000 structures. Today, it's the only part of the park that's off limits, but the building next door is all hands on deck. This is the boiler house, which generated high-pressure steam that powered the whole gasification and compression process. Venturing inside here means walking through a colorful maze of steel and cast iron pumps, pipes, and pressure gauges, all the while on your way to the picnic tables and the playground. This is also roughly where the rail cars spurred out to deliver the constant flow of raw coal needed to power the gasworks operations around the clock. You're actually able to see some of the old rail trestles right outside near the generator's oil cooler and absorber tanks. It's amazing this place was able to survive long enough for a second life, so much so that I actually started wondering just how that could even happen. Why was this rusty old power plant spared from demolition and redevelopment? To answer that question, we'll have to start at the beginning. It's 1901, and Seattle is a city on the rise. The Klondike Gold Rush brought in a surge of new settlers, and the construction of the new Seattle, Lakeshore, and Eastern Railway meant that the city could finally facilitate passenger and freight rail to and from British Columbia. This area of the city, made up of the neighborhoods of Ballard, Fremont, and Edgewater, was growing like crazy. New land tracts were surveyed, new homes were built, and the roads were quickly filling up with streetcar lines. Amid the growth, one company saw an opportunity. On the northern tip of Lake Union, in the neighborhood of Edgewater, the Seattle Gaslight Company began buying up land from residents whose homes had been cut off from the rest of the neighborhood by the newly built train tracks. As the gas company swallowed up all of the land by 1906, Edgewater was completely wiped off the city's maps, and its residential 29th and 30th streets completely redeveloped and lost to history. Despite the gas company buying up all the land, there were recommendations that it instead be used as a public park. Specifically by the famous Olmsted brothers, who designed many of America's most enduring streetcar suburbs and green spaces at the time. They wrote, quote, "If not too costly, the point of land between the northeast and the northwest arms of Lake Union and the railroad should be secured as a local park, because of its advantages for commanding views over the lake and for boating and for a playground," end quote. The brothers went on to design the entire park systems for cities such as Cleveland, Portland, and even Seattle. But in the end, the city went ahead with the construction of the gas plant, beginning operations in 1907, the same year that the Seattle Gaslight Company changed its name to the Seattle Lighting Company. For decades, the plant would go on to pipe gas along streetcar lines to neighborhoods as far as Capitol Hill, Queen Anne, Ballard, and beyond. The plant guaranteed safe and consistent delivery to homes, street lamps, laundries, bakeries, and anywhere else that needed its power. At the time, almost all of Lake Union was being used for industry, whether it be for sawmills, gas plants, rail yards, or shipyards. A fact you can still see some remnants of while walking along its hike and bike loop. However, this mass waterfront industrialization wasn't without its drawbacks. Almost as soon as the gas plant began operating, it became a significant source of air, water, and soil pollution. While it was serving thousands of customers across the region by lighting their lamps, heating their homes, and cooling their refrigerators, by 1934, the pollution reached a boiling point. Pun absolutely intended. The disgusting pollution leaching off of the gas plant led residents in the surrounding area to file a formal petition, demanding the gas plant be disbanded and removed entirely. While the city tried getting the gas company to comply, they never really did. In fact, it only escalated its operations, switching from raw coal to crude oil, building new machinery, and operating at full capacity well into the 1950s. At the time, one city engineer noted that the gas plant had more complaints than any other facility in Seattle, including the city dumps. By 1956, Seattle was finally hooked up to pipelines that delivered natural gas from Canada, and that same year, the gas plant ceased operations once and for all. The Seattle Lighting Company once again changed its name to the Seattle Gas Company, later merged with the Washington Gas and Electrical Company, and then became Puget Sound Energy, a modern-day utility company providing natural gas and electricity to about 25% of the Seattle metro area today. After the gas plant closed, the site remained abandoned for a few years, contaminated with tar, heavy metals, and petroleum residues. Inspired by the Olmsted brothers' original 1903 plans, the city and its residents acted fast to make something useful out of the rotting land. In 1962, the city of Seattle acquired the property for $1.3 million and tapped local landscape architect Richard Haig to design a whole new green space. A professor at the University of Washington just down the street, Haig saw potential in the industrial ruins and proposed a design that retained the gas plant's surviving machinery while integrating them into the new public space. But transforming the place from toxic wasteland into a wholesome public park required innovation. Haig employed bioremediation techniques, adding oil-degrading enzymes into the soil to break down contaminants and reclaim as much natural land as possible. The most toxic soil was compiled, covered in clay and fresh topsoil, combined with excavation material, and formed to create the park's main hill, now known as Earth Mound. The park officially opened to the public in 1975 and quickly became one of Seattle's most beloved landmarks. Haig's brilliant use of industrial archaeology gave life to Gasworks' iconic look and feel. However, the process of cleansing the earth of decades of industrial goo hasn't exactly been a straightforward one. While the park's grounds have been fully treated, the decontamination process is still ongoing, with the cleanup of the shoreline set to commence in 2027, as a final effort to try and get Lake Union's long-contaminated waters to be safe enough for humans to enter. No promises have been made. Since the park's opening, it's played host to a number of annual concert series, political rallies, the 2021 NHL expansion draft for Seattle's new hockey team, and is even the starting point for something called the World Naked Bike Ride, which I deeply regret finding pictures of. It's honestly remarkable that this park is the sole survivor of gasworks from Victorian-era America, a time when it was one of over 1,400 such plants operating in the US. Through a mix of unique geography, brainpower, and honestly sheer luck, Gasworks Park was able to start a brand new life. Today, it's a great place to hang out, fly a kite, catch some incredible views of Lake Union with a downtown backdrop, and explore some of the most unique remains of America's industrial past. Gasworks Park is also very well connected to Seattle's hike and bike infrastructure, specifically the Burke-Gilman Trail. To the uninitiated, this path is just that, a car-free way to get around town. But if you look a little deeper, in the finer details, you'll realize that this rail trail occupies the abandoned corridor of the Seattle, Lakeshore, and Eastern Railway, the very thing that set in motion the construction of gasworks on this exact plot of land over 100 years ago. Train tracks were laid, isolated homes were sold off, gasification came and went, and now this place gets to be, once and for all, a third place. And it just might be my favorite in the Pacific Northwest. I'll see you next week from fourth place.